It's my privilege now to introduce a great friend of the house. We've built a quick relationship, and she just knocked it out of the park in the first service. So it's time for you to get your Bibles and your journals out and get ready for today's message. If you guys would welcome the executive director from Options for Women, Blayne, to the stage this morning. New Hope people, come on, let's give her a great welcome.
Okay, we're good. We're on. Woo! Yay. Good morning. So you guys have some amazing worship, and I got to go through it twice, which is super cool. And then baptism, so I'm doing all this screaming, and I realize I'm going to be speaking. Like, I should probably shut up because I'm not going to have a voice by the time I'm done. It's so good to be here. You guys have such an amazing church. So thank you for letting me be here today, first of all. You guys are awesome. And then, as you know, Pastor Missy is now on Options for Women team, so we get to have her now. So we're extra blessed. As Pastor Mike said, my name is Blayne Wittig, and I am the Executive Director of Options for Women. We have been around in Concord for 35 years, so we are not the new kids on the block. So you may have heard about us. But if you haven't, that's okay because we have been accused of being the best kept secret, and I'm going to fill you in really quick before I start teaching. Okay, so Options for Women is a pregnancy center here in Concord. We serve hundreds of women every year with all different backgrounds and different pregnancy and sexual health related needs. Our services include pregnancy testing, STI testing, screening, options counseling, and also education and support services for teens, women, and men. There are three very important things that set us apart from every other medical center out there in Contra Costa. The first and foremost is we have a really cool CEO. You might know him. His name is Jesus. We are a faith-based organization, so everything we do starts with him and works its way down to us. He is the model for how we are to serve in our community, and we're super proud of that. Number two, we do not charge for our services. We are a model of transformation, not transactions. When our patients walk through the front door, we serve despite whatever is going on in their life, despite how much money they have. We don't care about that. We're just here to offer them any help they need. In other words, when they come through our door, we have nothing to gain financially by the outcome. And we're just there to love, and they can be sure of that, right? Because we don't charge. Number three, we are a life-affirming center, which means that we do not refer out or provide for abortions. We exist to be a place of refuge for a woman experiencing an unplanned pregnancy. We educate her on all her options, and we offer her compassionate care. We give her a safe place to work through all the different emotions that come with an unplanned pregnancy, let her just get it all out, and then we just sit with her and just help her through that process. Our goal is to bring the light of Jesus in a very dark and confusing time and let him do the work, because he knows what he's doing. So we just need to be the vessels, and he moves in the Spirit. I brought a short video to show you guys just a little bit more about what we do at Options for Women. This is a testimonial video. It's one of our clients and one of our volunteer client advocates. And you're going to hear two sides of the same story. So why don't you take a watch?
I just knew I was pregnant. You just felt different, you know? So I'm like, I think I'm pregnant. So I just took the test. I don't know what told me to take the test. I just felt nauseous and stuff. So I went to take the test. And it said positive. And I thought, oh my God. The first thing that came in my head, and I told myself this, I cannot keep this baby. There is no way. I was literally talking to myself as I was taking the test. I'm like, there's no way I can keep this baby. I cannot do it. I love baby's mom. I mean, he's so sweet, and I really do believe that he was made for me. I just stare at him, and the way he looks at me, I can feel his love, and it's a deep feeling. It's crazy. And it was about 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. I'm sitting there looking at him, and something just touched my heart. I start crying, looking at him. I'm talking to him like, "You are so precious. You are everything." And I'm sorry that I had those feelings about you and the things that I said, like having to do an abortion, you know, making the appointments. And I just started crying. I told him, "I love you so much, and I'm so happy I kept you." He just stares at me like he was staring at me last night. And that feeling is really touching.
Jasmine's story is why we do what we do. Jasmine's story is why Options for Women is around, why volunteer there. But when we get stories like Jasmine's, it's so fulfilling and so rewarding, and just reminds us that people do need us. We need to be around, we need to be available, we need to be free so that people will come and see us and be able to have those moments like she did. And I'm grateful to be a part of Options for Women. I've been blessed because of being a part of Options for Women. I've hopefully impacted some lives, but they have absolutely changed my life.
And I do want to thank Options for Women, and especially Emily, for listening to me, listening to my story. If it wasn't for them, I don't know if I would have Hezekiah today, and that's really special to me because I could not picture my life without him.
Sometimes the things that are scariest in our life, the things that look like a big fat oh no, are the best thing God's ever done for us. And when I look at Hezekiah, that's what I see. I see a girl that God was giving her this gift, and we get scared, and it's normal. Like fear, we have that, but we got to trust in God that he knows better than us what he's up to, and we just got to step into that. And there are so many times in the Bible that it says take courage, and there's a reason why it says take courage as in a command, not like, hey, if you feel like being courageous, go for it, but like take courage. And sometimes we got to just step in, and that's a whole nother sermon, so I need to get back on track. But I just want to say, sometimes the things that look worst in our life, just let them play out for a minute, because God's going to turn it around. I promise. I've seen it too many times play out this way. So back to Jesus. Okay. Over the last few weeks, you all have been in a series called Jesus Is. And I think as a Christian, one of the best things we could be doing for our walk and for our journey of growth, other than prayer and being in the Word, is always keeping Jesus' character front and center in our life. Looking at him as the model. So if we get off track, we're like, are we off track? Yeah, well, look at Jesus, and you'll get back on track, because he sets up patterns. Everything he did in his life wasn't just to be a great guy. He was that, but he was going first as a model to show us who we're supposed to be. He modeled patience, joy, love, perseverance, and he modeled forgiveness. Jesus is all these things and so much more, but I am honored today to be able to zero in on one of the greatest gifts that he gave us, one gift that I am profoundly grateful for. Jesus is forgiveness. And when you're someone who has found themselves covered in the filth and the dirt of life and all the mistakes that you've just covered yourself in, there is nothing sweeter than the taste of forgiveness that comes from Jesus. It's been close to 8 years since I've been a part of the ministry of Options for Women. And I will tell you this is my dream job. Like if God had said, oh, write any kind of job you want, this would have been it, but I didn't even know it existed. And I didn't go looking for it, it found me. And I'm not here today because I'm righteous and amazing and like had this perfect life, because I'm not. And if you had told me 20 years ago that I'd be standing here, I would have laughed. I would have been like, you're ridiculous. Not because I don't love Jesus, and not because I don't want to serve, but because I did not feel worthy and I disqualified myself. I was like, oh no, he would never choose me to do that work. Like, I am not worth that. You see, God didn't call me because I was perfect. He called me because I was willing. And in that willingness, he did a lot of work. My story is not about being perfect. Actually, it's quite messy, broken, and sinful. But how amazing is it that he doesn't care about those things? He's not looking for perfection. Today, he's looking for a heart that is surrendered to him. He cares about who we are, not how we look. And I was one of those people that tried to hold it all together all the time. Like perfection was my thing. I was a bit of a control freak. And then something happened. I couldn't do it anymore. I didn't even want to do it anymore. I walked into a church and the Lord got a hold of me and the Holy Spirit just broke me, and I think I cried for like a year straight every Sunday. Every Sunday. Like all that perfect, out the window. I was like, I need to get some waterproof mascara because this is bad. And it was like I'd walk in feeling fine, but I would walk out just like, he would just hammer my heart because he was working on me. When I finally decided to give him my whole heart, all of me, to say, Jesus, just take it. Just take it. I don't want to be in control of this life anymore. I am not doing his job. I had no idea the goodness that he was going to bring. I wasn't even looking. I was just like tired. But he came back and he just restored and brought so much beauty to the broken places. So let me give you a little bit of background on my messiness, because it's all really nice to stand up in here. Yeah, my life is a mess and I'm super messy. Well, I think it's a little better when I tell you what that is, because I think it's important to know that we've all been there. We've all been through some ugly stuff. My ugly stuff is going to look very different than yours, but it's still ugly. So I didn't grow up in a Christian home. And as many people do, I had a really messy childhood. It was broken in many, many ways, and that's a super long story. But the important thing to know is that because of it, I walked into my teen years pretty broken. And as a result, I sought out relationships to help kind of hide that brokenness or to comfort that brokenness. I found my worth not in who I was, but who I was with. And I allowed people to tell me what my worth was. And this is not what God wants for his beloved daughter, right? I was physically involved with my boyfriends, seeking affirmation and trying to fill that longing to be known and to be wanted. And looking back now as an adult and as a mom of a teenage daughter, I know now that what I was looking for was this pure love that only Jesus can bring, right? A perfect love that wouldn't break my heart, that wouldn't tear me down, that wouldn't leave me feeling rejected time after time again. And the road that I was on was a slippery slope, because the more I tried to fill this void through physical connection, the lonelier and the emptier I felt. But when you've learned the wrong version of love, you just keep trying at it. You go, well, I'll just try harder because it's going to get better. It's got to be just me. I'm broken. I'm the one. Like every relationship, it must be that I'm not good enough. So at 19, I move away to college, and it's my first time away from home. And you think, like, this should be the most exciting time. And I was so excited. Like, I just wanted to get out of the house. I wanted to do my thing. But the reality is, it was lonely. I wasn't expecting this. I had such a hard time trying to find my tribe, trying to find my people, the friends. And with that being the case, I just grabbed on to the first kind of relationship that would fill that void. So again, here I start another relationship that's based on a physical connection. And we start going down that road, and it's fun, and it's light, and it's carefree. It's all those things. Until one day, I wake up, and I'm not feeling very good. And I just kind of pass it off like, okay, bad day. And it happens a couple more days in a row, and I realize I need to go to the doctor. And so I go to my campus nurse, and she says, I think we need to do a pregnancy test. That's what we did. That test came out positive. And I remember thinking when I got those results, actually it was like a flood of emotions coming in, and I'm sitting there with this test, and I'm looking her in the eyes, and I'm just bawling because all I can think is like, I have let everyone down, and they're gonna be so disappointed in me. Like, that's your biggest fear when you get that pregnancy test, is you're just thinking about not this baby and the life that it carries and the worth that it carries. You're just thinking about all the different people in your world that are gonna be like, girl, you totally messed up. And they're gonna point the fingers, and you're gonna be so condemned. So she hands me the number to Planned Parenthood, and I had been sexually active, so I knew Planned Parenthood already. Those were like my buddies practically, right? Because I had that relationship. So I'm like, oh yeah, of course, I'll go to them. Never thinking that that would be a reason I'd be going. My careless behavior had caught up with me, and I needed to fix it before anybody found out. That pregnancy ended in abortion. And for 2 seconds, it felt like relief because I had dodged the biggest bullet of my 19-year-old life. But that relief did not last long before a cloud of darkness I couldn't even name it. It was yuck. It just felt like yuck. Not long after that, the relationship ended. It was fun and flirty and all of that, but the minute I got pregnant, wow, it became real fast. And when you've got two 19-year-olds that have no clue what life is about, it gets messy. So we broke up, and just a quick statistics around couples that go through abortion, about 70% of them will end because they cannot handle the weight. They cannot handle the weight of the abortion, especially when it goes unspoken and unhealed. The trauma is too heavy, and they just drift apart because there's this thing that's a reminder of this horror, right? So a year goes by, and I push past the abortion, and I'm happy again. I'm back at school, and things are looking good, and I meet someone else, and this guy's like love at first sight, and we're all in real fast, and this is my forever guy. It was about, was the last year of college that we met, and then right after college, we get engaged. And I'm so excited. I'm happier than I've ever been, and I think this is amazing. I've got my fiance, and I'm right out of college, and I'm gonna get this great career, and the world is looking so good. And then I start feeling this feeling that is super familiar. And I'm like, I don't feel good today. And my body starts to shift and change, and I'm like, this feels too familiar. And I realize, like, without even a test, I'm like, I know this feeling, I'm pregnant. And so I take the test, and sure enough, I am pregnant, and without hesitation, it's like without even thinking about it, you're just like so programmed to be like, problem, solution, it can be erased, right? And so my mind immediately, we're like, well, abortion, of course, abortion, that's what we have to do. And so we go back over to Planned Parenthood, and we have that abortion without much hesitation. And this time I'm thinking, where's the relief? Like, I'm not feeling any relief. I mean, it was dark. I knew, like, now I know, like, spiritually walking in there, what I was experiencing was just like heaviness of death. And I walk in, and I'm terrified, and I do this thing because it's like my mind saying it's the right thing to do. This is what you do. But my spirit's like, this is bad. This is real bad. So once the abortion finished, I felt no relief. It was just pain and shame and guilt, and I knew I did something really terrible. I buried that deep in my heart, deep, deep, deep in my heart. I was not expecting any of that. I didn't know what to do with it. There's no place to go for healing, no one you can talk to. You're supposed to hide this. But the problem with pain, especially when it's hidden, it demands a response. You can only hide it so long before it starts to kind of bubble up and start showing itself in some really strange ways. My secret was crushing me. There was no way I was ever going to let anyone find out, though. When the topic of abortion came up, I would just leave the room in self-condemnation. I was like, if they look in my eye, I think they're going to know. I think if they look, they're going to see the evil that I went through. And I know now that some women, maybe not all, but the ones I've talked to, have experienced something similar to what we would know as a PTSD. And it's called post-abortion stress syndrome. And this happens after a woman has an abortion and we shove it down and these new behaviors pop up, and they're really just coping mechanisms. And they come up in all sorts of different ways. Each person kind of sees it pop its head differently. But it's a way that we cope with the unresolved. Even before I met Christ, I knew I had made two of the biggest mistakes of my life. But then in my mid-20s, I decided to give my life to the Lord after these abortions. And I got baptized. And I started to, walk with him. I was so passionate about Jesus and what he stood for and who he was. And I wanted to learn about him. And I got hungry for him. And I started to go deeper in the word and in prayer. And it was amazing. But you see, there was this thing, though. I had these abortions. And so before Christ, I pushed them down. But I know this isn't going to make any sense to most of you. But maybe it will. I pushed them down even more after Christ because I was terrified. I had realized before I hurt my children and I hurt myself, but afterwards, my eyes were open and I realized I wounded him. Like I betrayed him, the one who gave it all to me. And I couldn't stand that. I couldn't stand that I did that. So I, in my naivete, hid my abortions from Jesus. It's funny, right? We have this way of compartmentalizing things. So it wasn't until I came to the ministry of Options for Women, and I said that was about 8 years ago, and this is all I ever wanted to do was like serve Jesus. I mean, I wanted to be in ministry, but I was like, no one's gonna want me. I'm like divorced, I've done all these stupid things. And he brings me to Options, and I'm like, this is like the best thing ever. Like, I want to be a part of this. And then I realize, like I got some stuff that I've not dealt with. And this is a ministry that deals with abortion. I'm like, that's crazy. So I was at this fork in the road, and it was kind of like he was saying, what are you gonna do? Because I've got this great job for you, but like, you've given almost all of your heart to me, but I know you're keeping some to yourself. So are you going to give it up or not? So I knew I came face to face with him in that moment because he wanted me to walk in full forgiveness. He wanted me to walk in all he had for my life. And I hungered for that. I wanted to go deeper. I was the girl that was like, Jesus, I just want to know you more. I just want to know you more. I just want to know you more. And he's like, okay. Are you sure? Because if you want to know me more, we're going to have to go somewhere. So one day, I'm praying to him, and I've got this decision to make, like, where am I going to go with this? I want to be a part of this ministry, but I got to give them my all. Like, I can't walk in fake or false or, like, half me. I got to go. And so I'm praying, and he gives me this picture in my mind, and it's this hallway, and I'm praying, and it's like this really long hallway, and there's all these doors, and the doors are open, and there's light shining out of these doors. And I just remember thinking, like, these are the doors I let Jesus in. These are the places in my life where I was like, come on in. Come on in. I want you in here. I want you in here. These doors of my heart. But at the very end of the hallway, there was one door. And that door wasn't light. In fact, it was dark. And it's like, I remember this clear as day. Like, this is literally the picture of my heart that I was holding on to, was like, you can go in every one of those doors. Like, I love it. Go there, but do not touch that one. Don't touch that one. It's too dirty. Jesus, I don't want you to see it. I don't want you to see what I've done. I've hurt you. And that door, it was like, I see the picture. It had like chains on it. And it was like, I'm not letting you in there. And I remember him just talking to me in that moment and just holding me and being so present, so real, like more real than he's ever been in my life. And he just said, like, I know what's there. I know what's behind that door. Don't you know? I was with you when you had those abortions. I was sitting in that chair, and I remember the empty chair, and I remember thinking, yeah, you were there. And you were crying for me, and you were crying for my baby, and you were crying for what the world's done, because we've all been deceived in one way or another. But he just asked me, he's like, when you're ready to open that door, we're going to go together. And I just saw such compassion in his eyes. When I looked at him face to face, there was no condemnation. He just had so much love and so much mercy and so much like, daughter, like, I know, don't hide this from me. I was carrying my own cross for so long. He wanted me to be set free. He wanted access to every door in my heart so that I could feel and experience the beauty and the fullness of all his forgiveness. And what I find about Jesus that's so amazing is that even in our attempts to hide from him, he still pursues us. He chases us down, and he's not going to quit until he has us. And here's the deal. He's got a lot of time on his hands. So you can run all you want. It is up to you. It is up to you when you're going to decide, you know what, Jesus, no, I need you to take it all. Because he'll just wait. He's pretty patient. For many years, I had been living in denial, not realizing that I had created a version of Jesus in which he could forgive everyone else of their sins, except for me, because my sin brought death and destruction. My sin was worse than all of yours. I had deemed myself unworthy of his forgiveness, and in doing so, I shackled myself to the enemy of shame and guilt. After my abortions, they told me I'd be fine, because that's what they do. They tell you, you're going to be fine. And I was thinking about that. Like, I wore that word for so long. I remember my mom, she would even say, you always say you're fine. Like, I ask how you're doing, and you're fine. And I really took that on, and I realized, like, I don't want to be fine. That sounds pretty mediocre to me. That sounds like survival. That sounds like getting through life. Jesus did not endure torment and excruciating death on the cross so that we could be fine. He did it so that we would know such extravagant love that it would permeate out of every ounce of who we are until it literally just seeps out of us and it radiates pure joy and gratitude for the life of freedom that we've been given because of what he did on the cross. When he said, "It is finished," newsflash, he meant it. Like, he meant it. I mean, it almost sounds too easy. It's finished. Oh, it's done? Yeah, it's done. Like, we take it and we carry our cross. We do this damage to ourselves when he's like, Girl, I did that for you. Come on, just receive it. Just receive it. It's here. Just take it out of my hands. The price has been paid in full. There is no more debt. There's no more debt. Doesn't that sound so much better than like, oh yeah, I'm fine. Oh yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. Like, if my kids ever tell me they're fine, I'm like, sit down, what's really going on? Because that's like not how we work. What I love about his forgiveness is it's like hitting a reset button. It's like reset, reboot. Abortion doesn't reboot, forgiveness reboots. It washes away all of our impurities and it sets us back on the road to dignity. We can hold our head up high and look people in the eyes and say, I'm a son or a daughter of a king, right? There's no condemnation on me. There are so many stories in the Bible that just ooze of the forgiveness of Jesus and God's redemption, and I love that. But lately, the one that has just been resonating with me the most, that I've just been like in it, like I really want to understand what God's doing here, is the story of Adam and Eve and the Garden of Eden, right? The very first time that we see sin enter the picture. And when sin happened with Adam and Eve, their eyes were opened and they were aware that they were naked, like immediately. And it's like, oh my gosh, you hide. You hide. When you realize you've done something wrong, you cover it up and you're like, I'm not gonna let anyone see this. And so that's what they did. They're like, Dad's coming, better get dressed. Genesis 3:7 says, then the eyes of both were open, and they knew they were naked. And they sewed fig leaves together, and they made themselves loincloths. Now that's an interesting image. I mean, that they're sewing loincloths out of fig leaves. Pretty creative. But God was like, that's not how it's gonna be, guys. And I love what he does next. In Genesis 3:21, God steps in and he meets them in the Garden of Eden and he says to them, and the Lord God made clothes from animal skins for Adam and his wife. There is so much significance in this story that you can unpack it all day long. But I want you to get a couple of things to take away from it right now. Because the thing that I see is a loving father who's looking at his kids. He sees they make a mistake. They try to fix it themselves. They do kind of not a great job. And he's like, let me help you. So from the very beginning, God shows his compassion and his mercy and his forgiveness. And what he does is he takes an animal and he sacrifices that animal and he creates garments that are worthy for his children to wear. So he says, give me those loincloths, right? Give me those fig leaves. That's not cool. Can't have my kids walking around like that. It's not very fashionable. And he gives them something awesome, something better, because they're walking around naked and they realize they're sinful, and he doesn't want his kids walking around feeling that way. So he's got to restore them. So he meets them in the garden like a good father, and he gives them these clothes so that he can put dignity back on them. He doesn't just leave them naked, or he doesn't go, oh, well, too bad, you messed up, now you got to wear that. Good for you. No, he's like, you are my children. I feel like I see this picture of this loving dad, and I love it because I've never met my dad, so God's always been all that and more to me. And he just opens up his arms and he just wraps up his kids. And he's like, let me help you. Don't you realize who you belong to, who you are, your royalty? And then he brings them back into alignment. He brings them back, so he gives them their dignity, and then he brings them back into the alignment, and he's like, okay, are we good? Are we set? Are we on the right track now? Now walk that way. That's what Jesus did for me. Yeah, when I stopped hiding and I received his forgiveness for my past sins, that's what he did for me. He clothed me in dignity, And he said, you don't need to hide. You don't need to hide. I love you. I made you. I see you. I know who you are. I know the depths of you. I know every hair on your head. I love you. Yes, you made a mistake, and I see your broken heart, but enough with that broken heart. Enough with that. Enough. Now you stand up and you rise up and you walk in victory, because the enemy is going to try and shackle you down. The enemy is going to make you hold on to that condemnation, that guilt, and that shame, and he's like, it's finished. It's done. Knock it off, kid. I'll pull you back up. You're going to keep going out there. And that's what he's going to do and has done for all of us. For all of us. You guys, I'm up here telling you about my dirty life, and you all might not even identify with that, and that's great. But I know there are areas you can identify with. I know there are areas that you struggle with. I know there are areas that you're like, nope, no Jesus, no. Like, I have a past with pornography, or I have this addiction, or I have that. And it's like, nope. You can look at everything else, but you don't get to have that because I don't want to show it to you. Well, he knows. So just give it up to him. Just like Adam and Eve, we have all fallen short. And we just need to take whatever baggage it is that we are carrying along, like a broken leg, limping along in life, and we just need to lay it down at the cross. Just let his blood that was shed wash over it and purify it, so that we can walk free of condemnation with our heads held high. You guys, the freedom that I got on the cross allows me to be here today and look at you and say, I know, I did this. The worst thing ever. The one thing that I never wanted anyone in my life to find out about. But I can stand here because of the freedom. So you don't need to stand up here and tell your dirtiest secret. In fact, I wouldn't even recommend it. It's not for everyone. And that's what we're calling you to. I want you to know that right now. That whatever it is you're struggling, whatever it is you're hiding, whatever you're holding tight, it's just between you and him. It's you and him. Start there, and then he'll start to tell you where you might want to share that later. But you have to know, I've been 8 years on this journey of healing. 8 years of sitting in the secret place with him going, okay, Lord, what do you want to do now to get to this place? This was not instantaneous overnight. We co-labored in this healing. So I just want to encourage you that if you're here right now, I just say, maybe sometime today you just ask him. You just say, Lord, is there anything I'm hiding or anything that you want access to that I have kept away? Because sometimes we don't even know. We don't even realize it. We're like, oh, I'm good. No, I'm good on that. We don't even know, but just let him search your heart and let him bring it up, and he's going to do his work with it because he's such a gentleman. He's such a gentleman. He doesn't come knocking on doors and ripping them open where he doesn't feel wanted. He's going to wait. He's going to wait for you to say, you know what, Jesus, I would really like for you to come in, and I'm going to tell you, it may not be easy, but he's so merciful that every tear that is shed, he grabs it and he holds it and he puts it in a jar and it's sitting up there in heaven and they don't go to waste. So he's with you. He's with you. I'm just so thankful for how he's freed me and wants to free you all. So I'm here to tell you today, guys, because Jesus is forgiven, we have all been forgiven. We all have forgiveness. And forgiveness will bring life. Thank you, New Hope.